Welcome to Gulfstream Park. It is December 19th, 2014. Christina Bosanakis, and always accompanied by Ron Nicoletti. And a lovely day. We're going to have a warm day. Track, the turf firm, track fast. Great conditions.
Yeah, we got that Rainbow Six. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's up to $159,000 plus, and we'll see if it gets hit today. The rumor's going around that it might be guaranteed at $300,000 on Saturday and Sunday, but we're going to see how things play out first here. But $159,000, boy, that's good enough. So that starts in race number 5. We got that the 20-cent wager, which makes it a lot of fun. You can add a lot of horses, and as you mentioned, we got the fast main track firm turf course, a little warm today. Well, it is South Florida, so that's you got to expect that. But lots of fun races, turf races on the main track. Babies, got it all.
Yeah, we sure do. And we start off the card actually with, I think, an interesting affair. It is 62.50. It is a claiming event. It is 6 furlongs on the main track. We do have a jockey change. Number 4 will be ridden by Miguel Vasquez. And my top selection, it looks like we both went in the same direction. That's with number 1, and that's 5 Small from the George Navarro barn. I think this race is pretty interesting, Ron. 5 Small, he's going to be the one that's going to go to the lead for George Navarro. And however, if he has company up front, somebody softens him up, and he can't hold on, Navarro's covered because he has number 5, Chiton, in there as well, who's going to pick up the pieces.
I spent more time on this race than I should have. I just kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I didn't know how to do it. Like you said, I got the 1-5 Small, 7 for 9 in the money this year. Stretch it out to 6 furlongs. Gave him the tepid nod in here. Always going to sucker for inside speed, you know. So trainer George Navarro mentioned has 2 in the race. Chiton is going to close if number 1 gets hounded early. The other horse I split with was the number 7 horse in there. Crown Distinction, stepping up to face open competition. The reason I put that horse rallies from off the face. So if the 5 don't do it, maybe the 7 will reel in the 1. But I had a tough time with this race.
And Inside Speed has been doing well. But there's a horse that I threw in my picks, Ron, and that's Pro Gold. And I saw this video of this 4-year-old gelding's last race, and we're going to take a look right now. And he was checked. And if you watch him, there he is. He's number 1. He's on the rail. And so he checked significantly. He lost several lengths right there. And Ron, now look how he looks coming into the stretch. He still looks like he's got way too much ground to make up, but he comes between horses and he goes away. He's actually wins going away. So I think that was really a superior effort back on November 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, after watching that video, I'm certainly going to go back and add him on my ticket because I was looking for a horse that can do just that. You know, he had a legitimate excuse and he closed nicely. So that horse today, number 3 Pro Gold, might be the way to go in that race. That's a good angle, and up there right now a 2-coat favorite at 2-1. So I guess other people spotted that and taking some early money, but very early in the wagering with 51 minutes before post time. So tough time with that race.
Yeah, it is. It looks like it's a competitive race. And on to the second on the card. It is a 20,000 claiming event. It is 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. There's a jockey change. Number 2 will be ridden by Irad Ortiz Jr. And this kicks off the early pick 4. And my top selection, I went with number 8, and that's Vital Victory. And it hasn't raced since October 29. A couple of those races, Ron, I think the distance is probably going to be perfectly suited for her. And I think that also the class break, at least from her, I'm keyed in on that race 2 starts back, where I think she ran a very good race, and she's pretty consistent. She's always in the money. I think she fits here.
Yeah, we got her exactly like Vital Victory. Tried these $20,000 claimers at 7.5 furlongs after failing to reel in a repeat winner called the Spectacular Me. They must have a little dance in the barn where they didn't see Spectacular Me named in this race. And this horse, trained by Chiari Jackson, looks like the logical choice. Edgar Zayas will be in the saddle. I agree with all the things you said. The second horse we both used was the 5, Lady Joyful, stepping up today after posting back-to-back race victories at the $8,000 level. With her current form, must be respected. You know, despite the hike in competition, I just think when you're in that good form, there's really no real great jump up from 8,000s to 20,000 claimers, especially on the turf. So I think you got to have Lady Joyful on your ticket.
Yeah, I agree with you. And on to the third race on today's card. It is a mile on the main track. It is a starter optional claiming with a claiming price of $10,000. We have a jockey change, number 4, and that's Lyle's Angel. I went with number 8, and that's Hot Coffee. Talking about recent form, which you were just talking about, Hot Coffee, winner last time out, winner of her last 3 of 4 starts. She's really done very little wrong. The only time she was defeated wrong in our last few starts was in the slop.
Yeah, and I went with the 2, Courtney Ryan, an old favorite of mine here, and this is a 10-time winner this year. You know, she's 15 starts, 10 wins. That's amazing right there. Hoping to bounce back after a recent 2-race win streak ended at this level. When she showed early interest, she faded, but that was in the Claiming Crown glass slipper. Tamara Levy, Louis Saez atop the daughter with distinction. So she's just a hard-knocking campaigner. I think she's back at a proper level. Had Hot Coffee there, but I know you had something you want to show here of a video?
I do, because this is another horse that I found that was very interesting to me, and that's Lyle's Angel from the Chuck Simon barn, and she ran a very good race. And here, Ron, we're looking at her right now, and this is just heading into that first turn, and you're going to see her. She's going to get steadied there, right there, and I think it pushed her back just a hair, but she still came on subsequent. We don't see it there, but subsequent to that, she came on. She closed. She ran a really big race. She won by 2 3/4 lengths, even though she had a little bit of an issue early. And I spoke to Chuck Simon the other day. He said she's been doing great, and she really figures in here too.
Yeah, and I mean that's the type of type of horse you want to get in here. That maybe someone didn't see that before, so you get a bit of a price instead of going with the Courtney Ryans or the Hot Coffees that just win. Seem to win all the time at this level. And you get a bit of a price, and it's great. It's part of your early pick 4 ticket. So I would throw that horse on my ticket too. I don't know if we mentioned, but the jockey on the 4 is Corey Lannery.
I did, and actually Corey Lannery, who had a couple of victories, actually I believe yesterday. So Corey Lannery is cranking up the heat down here in Southern Florida. On to the 4th race on today's card, and it is a 30,000 claiming event, a mile on the main track. We do have a scratch, a significant scratch. Number 1, King's Over. That was my top selection, and I ended up going with number 7, Roll Up, Kathleen Oak. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. I went with number 3, Defense Article, and I'll tell you, and I'll give you my explanation as to why. Blinkers on, because initially it seemed like there was a roll-up was going to be the lone speed,
right,
which is possible. Number 3, Defense Article, it's George Navarro.
Right.
Already he's shown that he's got a little bit of early turn of foot if you look at some of those last races. Blinkers on. So I'm not convinced Roll Up is going to get there early, and he's going to have an uncontested lead. I think this horse is going to be with him.
Yeah, I got the Defense Article on my ticket, but not on top. I went with the number 9, Argosy, and I had King's Over, of course, on top of my ticket. And I actually like King's Over a lot today. Entered again on Sunday, so if you're a King's Over fan, all you have to do is come back on Sunday. You can bet him then. Argosy is dropping into this condition claimer. After facing tougher in a series of allowance optional claimers with some success, 6 starts, a win, a second, 2/3. Ralph Nix. I just thought this horse was the logical horse in here. Defense Article for all the reasons that you mentioned. And then I threw in Main Man Micah stretching out today after rallying. If you look at his last race, he rallied 6 wide. He was 4th in that race. I just thought he closed. I don't know if he can beat the horses we were talking about, but I think that he can close and grab a share.
He can grab a piece of it, sure. We're going to take a short break, folks, and we'll come back and have a look at the 5th race on the card, which kicks off the 20-cent Rainbow Six, over $159,000. Stick around, folks.
Gulfstream Park is one of Florida's top entertainment destinations, mixing restaurants, clubs, a casino, and international boutique shops with world-class racing. In a lavish, sun-drenched setting with the feel of a Mediterranean village, Gulfstream is a leading year-round entertainment and tourist destination and the home of luxury residences in 2014. The Stronach family, owners of Gulfstream Park, is committed to the sport of thoroughbred racing and the grace, spirit, and generosity of the horse.
The Rainbow Six is back, and it's better than ever. Now with a 20-cent base wager, it will expand the market for the popular bet. And in addition to doubling the base wager, the percentage return for the winners on the day the jackpot isn't hit increases to 70%, with 30% going to the carryover pool for the next program. Gulfstream Park, first post, 12:35 p.m. each and every day.
Welcome back to Gulfstream Park, and we're going to have a look at the 5th race on today's card. It is a 5.5 furlong maiden special weight. It is for Florida breds, and a couple of scratches, number 6, number 13, and this race kicks off the Rainbow Six, over $159,000 in there today. And my top selection, I went with number 4, and that is from the Todd Fletcher barn. That's J.S. Bach. This is a 2-year-old colt by Tail of the Cat. I like the Tail of the Cat's first time out. He was precocious. His offspring are precocious. Very versatile stallion, too. I look at that work back on December 6th. That seems like it was a pretty solid work. And again, nothing really jumps off the page with this horse. However, we got Todd Fletcher, we've got the breeding, we've got all that stuff. It all comes together. I also used number 1, Our Limo Joe, and Cantharos, the stallion, he's been doing fantastic here in Southern Florida. The leading freshman, he is a freshman sire, and he's the leading sire here in Florida, but his numbers really stack up anywhere in the country.
Yeah, and you know, and you go with the connections. Kirk Zadie, he's strong. The horse has a strong morning work tab. He's 45% with his first-time starters, Edgar Zayas. But you know what? Got to deal with that always adventurous inside post. What I like about this race, it is the first leg of the Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
So you can watch the board before you put your ticket together because you got some first-time starters in here. With that said, there's a horse here that I've picked every single time and has not got the job done, and that's the 12 Color Me Pom Pom, the most seasoned runner in the field. 5 starts, 3 seconds in the third. One of these days for Terry Pompey, Luis Saez is going to win. So I got to have this one on the ticket. But I know you had an interview with someone in here.
Yeah, we wanted to have a look at what Ralph Nix had to say about his firster, a 2-year-old colt by Teufelsberg, and that's number 11, 1 for CJ. Let's see what he had to say.
With him, he doesn't seem to be the fastest away from there, so, you know, hopefully he'll come close. You know, he had a couple good works early on. His gate work was fair and to my judgment, but he's got a good smooth stride. You know, I don't know if the distance will be suitable, but hopefully closing at the end.
That was Ralph Nix, always conservative, and I really like Ralph because he never overstates anything, he never understates anything. He's very straight to the point, he's very straight up. I always value what he has to say because I think that he has a very good opinion. But we get Edgar Prado in the irons, and Edgar's been riding fantastic.
Right. Now, my question to you, a breeding expert, how deep do we have to go in here to get the Rainbow Six started? You got to go a little deep in here.
I'm not going to go that deep.
No?
No.
You just like your number 4 horse?
I think number 1, number 1 and number 4. Now, again, I'm going to get phone calls. And, you know, Christina, what's wrong with you? Some bomber's going to win.
Well, you know, yeah, that's the great part, as I mentioned. You can watch the board, you
personally,
know. Right.
When I play it, I'm going to probably go because I think it's going to be one of these two in my mind in any case. So that's the direction that I would go in. On to the 6th race on today's card, and it is a 20,000 maiden claiming event, and it is a mile on the turf course. We do have a scratch, number 4, and we also have a jockey change. Number 7 is Miguel Vasquez. I'm starting to be like you. You see, Ron, hanging out with you too much. And my top selection in that race is number 9, and that's Carla from the Jimmy Closeris barn. She hasn't raced since October 22nd, and that was really a forgettable race. However, I really think if she runs back to some of her earlier races, she's going to be really, really tough to beat. So it's a question of, is she ready to go? And I have faith in the connections. You know, and she's a reclaim for $40,000 by Treblana Stables, so they like this horse. They claimed it back and everything like that. With that said, I went with the number 5, Sweet Mary on top. I do have the 9, Carla. Sweet Mary's dropping to this $20,000 level, making the 3rd start of its current form cycle after following a 3rd place finish. That was against $30,000 types, was back on October 3rd. Then comes back, stalks the pace, faded, finishes 7th in that race, but that was against $35,000 maidens last out. Manny Tatore's got Apprentice Tyler Gaffleone. I watched this horse run in its previous race, and I think this one is sitting on a good performance today. So had that one on top of Koala for all the reasons you mentioned. I like when guys reclaim horses, you know. Say, no, I want that one back. It shows some interest. You know, Sweet Mary, the reason I didn't put her on top, you made just a very good point in her last race. I feel like it's becoming a bit of a pattern with her, the speed and fade and the speed. So to me, I wanted to have her in there. I wanted to keep her on my ticket, but I'm just concerned. I'm thinking she might just get caught late. And another horse I threw in there, number 3, that's a Southern and Sassy. And again, she's dropping for maiden special weight company. She really didn't factor that day. I think this is going to be better suited for her. She'll factor a little bit better. Yeah, I used her too on the ticket. On to the 7th race on the card, which is a 20,000 claiming race, and it is 5 furlongs on the turf course. We do have a jockey change. Number 3 will be ridden by Leandro Goncalves, and this race kicks off the late pick 4. And Ron, a couple of ways to go. I know that we both actually landed on the same horse. That's number 8, Kazuna, Jane Sibeli, drop. Getting the blinkers off this time. There are many aspects in why I went in this direction.
Yeah, well, she dropped it to this $20,000 3 lifetime claimer, removing the blinkers today after making that middle mood and fading. But that was against $25,000 optional claimers going 5 furlongs across town in the Gulfstream Park West turf course. And I just think the drop down is really going to help her. You know, Jane Sibeli mentioned got 2 in this race. She's also got the spirit within, and has Edgar Prado on this one. We just talked about sung his praises in the last race. He's riding great on the turf. I just thought number 8, Kazuna, was the one to beat in here.
Yeah, I sure did too, and it's a very good point that you made that his races on the turf has been as good as anybody's, I think, if not better, thus far. On to the 8th race on today's card. It is a starter optional claiming event with a claiming price of $10,000. It is a mile on the main track. And we do have one jockey change. Number 4, Charge, will be ridden by Luis Saez. And my top selection in there, I went with number 2, Rush Now. And Javier Castellano's riding this one, coming off of like a runaway victory run last time. That was 62.50 claiming company, but he just galloped that day, and just a really, really nice performance. You throw out that start 2 back because it really was just lackluster. He was favored that day and just didn't show anything. He's pretty consistent right now.
You know, I was going to go back. I read the trouble line, and the source said drifting in the stretch. I said, oh, here's good. I'll show, you know, this horse drifting in the stretch. He absolutely did not. No. Harley was very slight, and he was just like he was cruising. So he did not show. It looks like the one that raced by 9.5 lengths. And the reason he was drifting out, I think they were just wrapped up on him, and, you know, he went in the end. So, you know, Javier Castellano will be in the saddle today. Also used the number 3 in here, Commander Tate, shortening up to a 1-turn mile after dueling through the stretch and finishing 3rd behind a hard-knocking campaigners, one called Chillin' Dillon, and the other one was the next out claiming crown Iron Horse Stakes winner J.B. Zunk, going 1 mile and 70 yards at Gulfstream Park West. You're knocking heads with these horses. You figure in this race. Do not lead this horse off your late pick 4 ticket. Just the company line alone makes you have to think, because J.B. Zunk was very impressive in the claiming crown.
You know, for those of us who like bombers, and I always try to see them in the paddock, but I mentioned that I had spoken to Chuck Simon the other day, and there was a horse that he has in here. I threw on my ticket. I had him in 3rd, and that's number 4, Charge, and Luis Saez gets aboard now. So that was the jockey change we announced, and he told me the conversation we had was essentially this: on form, he doesn't look like much. He's been training up a storm. I think, Ron, this horse is going to be he's going to be long odds later on. He might be one that you might want to throw on your ticket.
Exactly. You get some inside information there. I also used the number 1, Blimey, from the Angel Quiroz barn on the inside. So a little deep there when we go in the 8th race, and that also kicks off the last of the bet 3s of the afternoon.
On to the 9th race on the card. It is a 62.50 allowance optional claiming. It is a 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. We have several scratches in there. Number 1, 6, 7, 14, 16, as far as I know right now. Number 13 appears to get in. Edgar Zayas will be aboard. We gets the riding assignment. So several changes. We will have Larry Colmus come on in just a few moments. He'll give us all the updated changes and scratches for the day. And my top selection, I went with number 12. And that's Hill House High. This is a horse that I'm pretty familiar with from the Chad Brown barn. Hasn't raced. I was shipped up to Woodbine last time and ran in the Ruling Angel. She was favored. She was 6th. She was only beaten 4 lengths, but she did ship, and I think she ran better races in New York. I really like her, and I think she's going to she'll be tough.
And that was on the poly track up there, so you can put a line through that. I went with the number 9, Divine Meg, turning back slightly to 7.5 furlongs after setting the pace and giving way grudgingly to finish 3rd against Similar. That was going 1 mile. It was on a good serve course up at Churchill Downs. Eddie Keneally is the trainer. Corey Lannery in the saddle. So Hill House High, the obvious choice in there. I went with the 9, Diva Meg, on top. And then I used Kiyama, who's stretching out around 2 turns. Really a couple of sharp sprint efforts at Woodbine, Saratoga, and Kentucky Downs. and keen. It looks like this horse takes his race with it wherever it goes. And trainer Brian Lynch says Johnny Velasquez at the top. This is a consistent daughter of Go Zapper. She's got 23 races with 5 wins, 9 seconds, 3/3.
You mentioned Divine Meg and Eddie Keneally. We were just had said earlier about this. He thinks she's going to fit. The distance is going to fit her, and he thinks the conditions are perfect for her. She's been doing well and consistent. So I don't blame you for using. The one horse that I would encourage you to include would be number 2, and that's Street Sailing from the Ralph Nix barn. And last time, she hasn't raced since January. She showed speed and she tired late, and this is one that I would throw into my exotics.
Yeah, and look, she's 20-1. You got Edgar Prado in the saddle, so you got to look at that one. And that's part of the, as we mentioned, of all the things, the Rainbow Six, the Pick 5, and the Pick 4. So these races, you'll have to have them make that decision way back when they first start.
And even for your exotic wagers, your tries, your supers, these are the kind of horses that I like to include. On to the 10th and final race on the afternoon, and it is a starter optional claiming. It is a claiming price of $50,000, and it is a 1.16 miles on the turf course. Ron? No changes thus far, at least not that I saw. And I went with number 10, and that's Aventurine. And here's another from the Todd Fletcher barn. Last time, she always seems to run her race. She hasn't. You have to go back a little bit for her win. She hasn't won since February 2013. But she always seems to run her race, and I think that she should run well this time.
Well, we're going to go back and show you her last race. It was over at Gulfstream Park West, and she ran really well in there. And I'm not really showing you anything, but if you just look at the track, the surf course was listed as good that day. Had some moisture in it. And I thought she ran, really well on that surface. And she was good in there. And, of course, she's a daughter of Big Brown, so I just think that she's the logical one in there. Here, the point is, do you single this horse in the final leg of all those wagers we were talking about and key it in the, super high 5 in this last race? There you see the performance. It was very nice, and she ran very well in that race. And I just wanted to go back and show you that, the ground had some give in it.
So you would single her in the last race?
No, I wouldn't, but I was wondering if people would. Because I like the number 5 Thundering Gale,
too. That's why I'm asking you that.
This one stretched out an additional 1/16 of a mile after prompting the pace. Finishing second was the favorite that day, and it was a $25,000 starter allowance up at Aqueduct going a mile. Chad Brown, Joel Rosario, Thunderello, a daughter of Thunderello, so got to have her on the ticket.
I don't know. I think I'm going to use, I agree. I think I'm going to use a couple, maybe 2 or 3 in that race at least. And that's it for today's card. Ron and I will be back the rest of the afternoon. And Larry Colmus will be on in just a moment, so folks, stick around.